Hello, in this video we're going to show you how to assemble this dresser. This dresser features Walker Edison's new easy assembly drawer system, which means the drawers go together with less frustration and no tools required. Before we get started, here's a few things to keep in mind. Estimated time for assembly is 2 hours with 2 people and a bit longer with 1. Make sure you have a Phillips head screwdriver and just make sure all the pieces are facing the right way and you'll do great. In this video, we're going to focus on the trickier parts and go quickly through the easier steps. So just make sure you pause the video and complete all the steps as we go. So let's get into it. In step 1, we're going to put cam bolts into piece 4 and pieces 1. And then we're also going to put dowels into pieces 4, 1, 10, 2, 11, and 3 like you see here. So in the end, it should look like this. And they should be facing out this side. And then dowels in these pieces like that. And then we can move on. In step 2, we're going to put dowels into pieces 12, 8, and 9, and then cam bolts into pieces 8 and 9. And with the cam bolt on piece 9, it goes in this hole here on this larger flat edge. And then on piece 8, it goes into this hole on the narrow side. Okay, we're good to move on. In step 3, we're going to attach rails to both sides of piece 12. So to start this step, we're going to take our bundles of rails like this, and we're going to unwrap them and separate the parts. And in these bundles, there's 2 types of rails. Rails that are straight on both edges, and there's rails that have a flared out end. So we're going to keep the ones that have the flared out end and set aside the square ones for later. And on these, you'll also notice that there's a little L and a little R on these, and we're just going to separate those into those 2 piles. So to start with piece 12, we're going to start with this side that has these cam lock holes facing up, and we're going to use the rails that have an R on them, and they're going to go and match up with these 3 holes here like this. And also we're going to be using 2 different screws here. We're going to be using screws N for these 2 holes here, and then screws X for the holes on this side. And then we'll do 3 rails on this side. Make sure they're all rails that have the little R on them. Okay, once those 3 are on like this, we'll flip over to the other side. And for this side, we're going to use the rails that have the L on them. So they should attach like this, and they should be mirrored of the other side. So it should look like this on this side, and it should look like this on this side. And then we're good to move on. In step 4, we're going to put cam bolts onto pieces 5 and 7. And the cam bolts are going to go into these 5 holes here, like this. So these 3 here, this one, and this one. And same thing on piece 7. So for piece 7, they'll be in these holes like this. And then we're good to move on to step 5. And we'll be attaching the rails to pieces 5 and 7. And with piece 5, we're going to use the rails that have the L on them. And then piece 7 has the ones with R. And then we'll do the same thing like we did before with the 2 different kinds of screws, 2 of screw N and 1 of screw X. And the rails will attach to these holes here. So when attaching the rails to piece 5, the wheels are going to be on this edge, like this. So for piece 5, they should end up looking like this. And then with piece 7, the wheels are going to go on the opposite edge, like this. So in the end, they should look like this. And then we're good to move on. In steps 6 through 10, we'll be assembling the drawers that feature our new easy assembly drawer system. This means that they go together a lot easier, faster, and with no tools required. So we'll show you how to do it. We'll start by taking these plastic wedge pieces, and these outer pieces will just bend back and forth until they snap off. And then next, these wider pieces will go into the side pieces of our drawer. And there's a little diagram on the side here that shows you how to do it. So these just press into these holes here with these parts sticking over the edge. Same thing with this other one. Next, we'll take our front panel, and these will slide into the grooves here. We just want to make sure that these grooves line up along these sides, and that these pieces are facing inwards on the drawers. And once both sides are in, we'll take our bottom panel and slide this into the grooves here. And next we'll take these little plastic wedges that we snapped off at the beginning, and the smooth side will face inwards, and we'll put them into these holes. And if you need to, you can tap these in with a mallet or a hammer, but they should just press in nicely. Next, we'll take the back piece, and this groove will line up with the bottom panel. And then we'll take our plastic screws, and these just press in on the outside. Okay, once those are all pressed together, then we'll do the same thing for the other 5 drawers. And then next, we're gonna put on the rails. So in step 11, when we're attaching the rails, we just wanna make sure that we have them on the right side. Just like we had the different ones from earlier, these are also a little bit different. These little fins are gonna overhang, and the wheels are gonna be on the outside like this at the back of the drawer. Same with this one, overhanging the wheel at the back of the drawer. And then we'll attach these with screws in. So in the end, the rails should look like this. And then next in step 12, we can attach the handle. So for step 12, we'll take our handle and 2 of our bolts O, and the bolts will go through the inside and go into the handle on the outside. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing for the other 5 drawers, and then we can move on. In step 13, we'll be putting together pieces 1 and 2. So for this, these cam bolts will go into piece 1, and the dowels will line up with this other hole. And it's the same on both sides. And then we'll put 2 cam locks here. Okay, next we can move on to step 14. And for step 14, we'll take pieces 10 and 11. And piece 11 will go into these holes here. The dowel will go into one of the holes. And then we'll take one of our bolts H, and that goes in through this other side. And we can tighten that with the hex key. We'll also take piece Q, which is this little plastic piece, and that will press into the bottom of 11. And we can set that aside. Then we'll grab piece 4. And then with piece 4 and piece 3 will go into these holes here. So we'll line up the dowel, and then we'll take our other bolt H and go in through the top side here. And then we'll tighten that with our hex key. Okay, next we can move on to step 15. And we'll take piece 5 over here and stand it up vertically here. And then we'll take this cross piece here, and that will line up with the top of piece 5. So we'll line up these dowels on this end. And then with piece 4, we're gonna rotate it like this, so that this piece is facing these 2 holes here. And then also that this indented edge is on the opposite edge of these wheels. And then that's gonna line up here with these cam bolts. And then we'll lock that in place with the cam locks. And then we'll also take 2 bolts G, and those will go into the ends here. Okay, next we can move on to step 16, and we'll attach piece 12, which is this piece that has the rails on both sides. We'll attach that here. And then with this piece, we want these wheels to be along the same edge as these wheels, and these cam lock holes will line up with these cam bolts here. Then we're also going to take piece 9, and that's going to go across here. And then next in step 17, we'll attach this piece right here. So this will line up with the cam lock hole here. And then also the dowels on the bottom of this piece will go into this piece as well. And we'll lock that in place with cam locks. And then we'll also take our adjustable foot, which is piece R, and that'll go into the bottom of 11 here. And then next in step 18, we'll attach piece 8 along here. So we'll face piece 8 so that the staying side is facing upwards into the dresser, and that this hole will line up with the dowel and the cam bolt with this hole here. And also it'll line up on this end as well. And then we'll lock that in place with a cam lock here and down here. And then we'll also put 3 screws L into these 3 holes here. And then next in step 19, we'll attach piece 7 to that side. So we'll just line up all of the dowels and cam bolts on all of the pieces here. And then we'll lock those all in place with cam locks. Okay, we're good to move on. In step 20, we're gonna put on the back panel. And for this, we just want the overhangs to match up with these ones so that it's flush on the back. So this will lift up like this, and it will rest in the grooves in here. Okay, next we can move on to step 21, and we'll put on the glass pieces. And I missed something in step 13, which is putting in the shelf support pegs. So we'll go ahead and do that now. And then with these, just make sure that the rubber part is facing up. So that'll go against the glass. Okay, once all of those pegs are in, we'll take our glass panels, take off the cardboard protectors, and then these will rest into place. Okay, once we put in the glass panels, then we can put in the drawers. To insert the drawers, we'll just take the back wheels on the drawers and put those over and then under into the rails on the dresser. And then they just roll in. Then we can do the rest. Okay, we're all done. We hope this video was helpful for you in assembling your new dresser. For more guides, tips, and tricks, go to walkeredison.com.